What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast, your number one resource for all that is happening across the emerging tech space. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Today, I'm joined once again by Michael Heinrich. He is the CEO for Zero G Labs. He was on about a year ago, and he's back on to give us the latest and greatest from what's happening with Zero G here in 2025. We're going to talk about a few different things today and give a recap and talk about the ecosystem, some use cases, and we'll dive into a few high-level things. Michael, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here, man. What's up?
Yeah, super excited to be back. It's about 10 p.m. in Korea, where we are for our pre-TG war room setup. So it's been a lot of fun.
There you go. It's 6 a.m. here in Las Vegas, where I'm at right now. So it's in true Web3 fashion, making it happen.
Always making it happen. That's the spirit.
Absolutely. Why are you in Korea again? You said you're there for an event?
So KBW is going to be happening soon, and we're one of the main
Korea Blockchain Week. Yeah.
So yeah.
Exciting. And are you anticipating anyone exciting being there that you're looking forward to that's participating in any kind of way, or how are you guys participating? I'm sure you guys probably are, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're one of the main conference sponsors along with 3 and Stable. And so what I particularly think is pretty cool is we're going to have an ecosystem showcase as part of KBW. And so we'll have a bunch of people that are building things like liquid staking protocols or AI agents on our chain to actually demonstrate it live to people who come by it. So that'll be super fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that looks fun. Are you guys going to do that at like a booth or a station, or how does that going to work?
Yeah, we have like this massive stage space and have a huge screen behind it. And then one section of that will be just for like ecosystem demonstrations.
Excellent. Well, that sounds fun. Definitely send me a video of that later. That's awesome. And what else is going on for you guys here in 2025? Probably a lot has happened with you guys in the last year. So the last time we spoke till now, what's been notable? What's been different? What can you share with us in terms of some updates?
God, I have to think about what hasn't changed. Maybe I'll take it in a kind of team, funding, kind of research, community. Maybe I'll touch on all those. Quite a bit of stuff has happened. So we're now 70 people or so. Globally distributed team, anywhere from the US, West Coast, Texas, East Coast, to Europe, to Dubai, to China, to Singapore, Vietnam, Korea, lots of geographies represented. Funding-wise, we've raised with foundation, about 350 million to date, which really helps for the ecosystem build-out. We started an ecosystem fund of 88.8 million, and so funded a number of companies coming out of it. We've had multiple batches of Guild on Zero G companies, for example, that went through it. On the technology side, a lot of breakthroughs. We basically created infinitely scalable layer 1. So it's a sharded architecture. So each shard does about 11,000 TPS, fully EVM compatible. And then on the kind of data throughput side, it's also infinitely scalable. So you can build whatever AI application you want fully on chain effectively. Research-wise, we've published 5 research papers last quarter, 4 of which got into top AI and software engineering conferences, one of which was a paper where we were the first to train a 107 billion parameter model, completely decentralized. That was covered by Forbes and many other publications as well. People didn't think it was possible. And we made dramatic improvements and were able to 3x the previous kind of height of model training. So major breakthrough for the decentralized community. On the community initiative, I think we have more than 700,000 followers to date, 300 plus companies building on chain, and we can go into some use cases in a second. We've had 3 incubators launched so far. A few success stories like Carve came out of one. At the height, they were about $1 billion project. Plays Out was one. I think they were a 300 million kind of market cap project and listed on exchanges like Binance and Upbit and so on. Lots of learning initiatives coming out through HackQuest. We are kind of in our traditional zero-G fashion everywhere. I've presented zero-G now at Google, on Bloomberg, live TV, the US White House, Stanford Blockchain Week, GM Vietnam, Ethereum NYC, Shanghai, WebEx most recently, and then KBW kind of coming up. And another fun update on my end, I was also named to Forbes 40 under 40. So that's been super fun.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's, a lot has happened in a year.
No, that is awesome, man. And I saw an article on the new standard that you guys help set for decentralized AI and the model breakthrough. I thought that was really cool. I was reading into it a little bit. Can you expand upon that a little bit more and what that breakthrough looks like and why it's so important? I think it'd be interesting to kind of highlight some key points.
Yeah, it's similar to many of the other breakthroughs we've had on the chain. Effectively, what we've done is we've been able to parallelize processes so that certain processes don't wait on each other. So for example, there may be one process and then it's stuck in a gridlock. And then because of that, you can't train any further. And so we figured out to break that gridlock and then to also have multiple communication pathways so that the network can stay in sync. And so that, for example, led to a 357x improvement in speed, if I remember that correctly. So the initial paper that was published on this was called DLOCO, and that was some research done by Google. And so we took some of that and then improved on it and called it DLOCO X. And so that X stands for the significant breakthrough in kind of this parallelization path and speed up and solving of gridlocks and so on.
Interesting. And then how can that kind of get applied from here going forward? Is that something that other larger LLMs could reference in like a paper, or something that you guys aim to maybe make accessible to your ecosystem so that they can kind of utilize it? Or how do you see that kind of, branching out and becoming something a bit more utilized?
Yeah, I'd say there's still a bit more research to be done on increasing even the scope of parameters as well. So people can eventually train 500 billion, trillion, multi-trillion parameter models. So there's a bit of research on the communication pathway still. The other bit that's important is on the verification mechanism. So right now, a lot of that work was done with TEs, which are limited to high-end graphic cards. But ultimately, we want everybody to participate in AI. And so we need to figure out a different verification mechanism where people can use consumer graphics cards or even mobile devices to contribute to AI. And so there's a bit of work to be done. But to date, you can already train pretty large-scale models. I mean, 100 billion parameter model is nothing to kind of joke about. The OpenAI open source model was roughly that size as well. And so if you're a company and you want to train a model based on a lot of the resources that you have, now that's possible without needing to use centralized infrastructure. And so the benefit of that is a cost up to 95% less and much more scale, because now you don't have to worry about putting a bunch of compute into one area. You can distribute it across a network. And in the research paper's example, we used 1 gigabytes per second broadband connection, which is kind of what an average consumer can have at home. And so that in itself was a pretty big breakthrough too.
And then let's talk about use cases as well. I'm sure that there's been quite a few different ones as well over the past year. Are there any that kind of stand out that you think are important or that are maybe having an impact or even that are just kind of exciting to you that you're seeing crop up?
There are quite a few. I mean, 300 plus companies, it's kind of hard to pick favorites in a way. But some that come to mind are just, we have to, of course, build the basic liquidity infrastructure. And so we have a company called Jane that's building kind of the AMM DEX interface, and it's using kind of AI to rebalance LP positions if they're very tight, for example. And so that's really cool to see. There's Euclid, which is a multi kind of protocol, multi-chain liquidity protocol. And so that's absolutely necessary. There'll be perk dexes, of course, and so on. But then there's some more AI agentic use cases. For example, there's Dormant AI, which does analysis of your biometrics and then gives you insights and recommendations of what to do better. Also using AI for that. There's more stuff on the infrastructure side. So doing things like decentralized federated learning, where there's multiple parties on the system. They want to keep their data private and then still create a model together. And so Volcanium Labs is doing that, for example. So yeah, lots of things to be excited about. We've had AIverse launch recently, which is going to be an INFT marketplace. And so the INFT is a new standard that we've created where stands for Intelligent NFT, or ERC 7857, where we figured out a way to embed the private keys of an agent into the metadata of an NFT. And so if you hold that NFT in your wallet, you can then definitely say that this agent belongs to me. This wasn't possible before because you have a centralized system like OpenAI or virtuals, and it depends on the terms and conditions who that agent belongs to. If the terms and conditions change one day, then that agent may no longer belong to you and the economic output may vanish. But with this, you have full ownership of your agent. And so AIverse is the platform to be able to trade these INFTs. So yeah, just there's more and more. I can keep going on if you want me to, but
Exciting. Are there any new verticals that have kind of cropped up as well that maybe you weren't expecting to in the last year?
The one that was unexpected is kind of DeSci. So for example, there's some longevity research companies that are building on our chain that are using AI agents for research. I kind of didn't expect that would happen so quickly, but I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I think that is really cool. I mean, there needs to be, I think, more done in the research space. I come from a science background. I don't know if I told you last time, but I was on the track to go to medical school. I got my degree in neuroscience and took my MCATs, and then Bitcoin and Ethereum came knocking on the door, and so I left that reality.
I studied cognitive science in undergrad, actually. So
okay, perfect. So there's some correlation there. But yeah, I can't tell you how many countless papers I had to read through and research, and it was just a pain in the ass. Like, I hated it so much, but it also kind of made me realize how inefficient it is to do. And I always wondered, like, at some point, like, because we just had Siri at that point, we didn't have the advantage of all these LLMs that we have today that kind of perspired over the last couple of years. But I was always wondering if like Siri could be like what an AI agent is today, and just kind of sift through all the information and give me like a really comprehensive summary of what I need to know, or just figure it out for me, or compare these different studies and give me an output, or maybe dig deeper and find some other kind of resolution to a problem I'm trying to solve. Like, in the science world, like I get it. It's very dense, all the paperwork and the mathematics that go into a lot of these different studies. And I hated it so much. And I know a lot of other researchers do too. So it'd be cool to see like some kind of AI agent application at some point, specifically for like that DeSci research and stuff.
kind of like a scientific assistant you can chat with and then ask a bunch of information from.
Yeah, I think it'd make it a lot more appealing to a lot of people, because I think we're starting to lose a lot of interest in that side of the world, and I think we need more people involved in the research part of science. And yeah, I don't know, just a quick thought that kind of came to mind, but I think that's really cool. I think that's a great use case and application. So I'm glad that they're seeing like a vertical there kind of start to appear. One thing I don't remember if we talked about last time or not was your guys's modular L1 in much detail or not. Specifically, I was curious about the modularity of it, because it's something that I'm getting a lot of questions on these days from a lot of people on how a lot of L1s are popping up that are modular, or there's a lot of rollups that are going the route of being modular. And just kind of curious on your thought of some of the benefits there of setting up your project or your chain, or the ability to scale better, and I think, be more compatible and adaptable in the future. What are some of the benefits maybe that you see of modularity in the space, and maybe how that can propel blockchain forward in a positive way?
So modularity to us basically just allows a lot more customizability of one's environment and one's stack. And so it has that benefit. So for example, if you really like our storage network, but don't want to deploy in our layer one, that's totally fine. You can utilize the storage network and use it on any chain. Same with kind of the compute side and even the service marketplace. But if you use all of them together, they work in unison much more easily. So kind of more like the Apple phone is more compatible with like the MacBook and so on. So similar kind of design philosophy, but you can certainly use them completely independently. And even at the layer one side, it's also very modular design where we have a separate data availability layer, we have a separate kind of execution layer, and then even the consensus layer will be modular because in order to create really high throughput from a data throughput perspective, it has to be separate systems because at some point the bottleneck is the consensus layer. And so you have to spin up multiple consensus layers if you want to have infinite throughput. And so modularity is very much baked into the entire design philosophy of the system.
Another question I want to ask is about the future of decentralized AI. Centralized AI is already very well established at this point. There's a ton of infrastructure for it. And I like the direction that decentralized AI is going, what everyone is doing to help pioneer it. But I'm curious, like if it's enough, like what we're doing to encourage people to build more in the decentralized side of this space rather than in the centralized side, and to really see and outweigh some of those benefits versus the problems that do exist. So again, curious from someone that's working on this stuff very diligently, where do you think this side of the space is going? Are we doing enough? Do we need to do more? And is it going to be viable enough for, let's say a mega corporation or institution or a nonprofit or someone building out the next major LLM to want to do it in the Web3 space?
Yeah, we need to be doing more. And I had this kind of discussion on a panel recently at WebEx with, his name was Lawrence. And he was at DeepMind, I think, for 15 years. And now he's a director at ARM. And we both agreed that AGI likely will come from many, many small expert models put together, because that's effectively the structure of the brain. You have all these kind of like different cortex areas, like a motor cortex, occipital lobe, and so on. And they have very specialized areas, like your motor cortex literally has representations of your hand and your feet and so on, and the movement. And different functions kind of put all these things together. And then you have on the outside of your cortex, like these 10 layers of recs that are like coordination mechanisms. And same with the nervous system. It's like completely through your body. It's connected to different organ systems, and parasympathetic nervous system keeps track of everything. So similarly, I think AI will evolve in that way, similar to the body, where you have all these super specialized systems that are experts in them of themselves, but they're coordinated through like a larger system. And so centralized AI companies are likely not going to that path. I mean, there's a mixture of experts, and more is happening kind of with ChatGPT 5 going into that direction. But I think decentralized AI could really take a leadership position in that, especially because the community can be, for example, I want to build a expert coding model on Solidity. Let me find like the 20 best developers in that and have them share their compute, have them share their code data, and then build a model around it. That model should outperform, Claude in that particular area as an expert. So we want to enable that through our infrastructure, and there will be a, little alpha, a launch pad launching on 0G eventually, hopefully by kind of beginning of Q4, if not middle of Q4, where that will then become possible, and you can actually tokenize those aspects.
Yeah, when you bring up AGI, it's a very interesting subject as well. I relate a lot of what we're doing in the decentralized AI space to kind of how the brain functions in terms of its neuroplasticity and in almost its decentralized fashion in terms of how it works. It's not like you can pinpoint one part of the brain and say for certain that it only does this, or this is the only function, or it's very flexible, and it can change, and it can adapt really well, and there's no direct correlation like this neuron does that, this neuron does this. It's like a symphony of things going on.
Yeah, and then you have like cranial nerves, for example. So you have a cranial nerve through your nose, and you can get a very quick impact. Like you smell something, you're like, oh wait, I have a memory associated with it. But then you can use your prefrontal cortex to override all of it. And so that's like the fascinating thing about the brain. It's like so plastic, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And the centralized AI systems today, remind me a lot of the closed loop feedback systems that we have in our nervous system, in the brain as well. And it starts to make sense when you correlate it like to LLMs and agentic AI. Like they're performing like very hyper specific tasks, and they're incredibly good at it. But it makes sense for a closed loop system in that kind of sense, something that could be relatable to something being centralized, versus if we're going the route of AGI, maybe maybe a decentralized system for AI is better suited for that. I don't know. These are just kind of some wild thoughts that I think about sometimes because the correlations are kind of there and they do, make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, and I also think that there's going to be different application areas for different types of AI models. So, for example, on-device models will play a role. Like maybe you're doing some travel booking or ordering some restaurant, and then centralized models for maybe something larger scale like research and so on. And then decentralized models should do all of the kind of high risk areas where alignment and community values are really important in like running the logistics system or manufacturing system or like an airport, for example. So that's when it's very dangerous to have centralized models run that.
Yeah, I'm generally pretty excited about it, and I think AI agents in particular will be something that's very beneficial to society. I hope we get it right. Like I don't want to see, tons of issues and people, getting the wrong medications and dying or planes falling out of the sky more than they already are. Like we don't need chaos, but I am very optimistic about it. I think it'll make society much more efficient and effective. And I think it'll help people in their daily lives a lot. Like I could use one, like a agentic AI for podcasting would be incredible. I could save so much time on editing and getting things published and scheduling and creating like really good clips and material for social media. Like there's so much that, I could see even on my end. So very excited for that future. Hopefully we get into it really quickly.
Yeah, I wonder if in a year from now it'll be two of our agents talking with each other.
Yeah, probably. I actually interviewed someone a while back. They were working on these like I think a couple people I interviewed that were doing like these digital twin projects where they could create lifelike clones essentially of yourself, and then you could have that clone tied into an AI agent, and the AI agent could be like a representation of your personality and how you talk and how you interact, how I ask a question, or maybe how you answer a question. And then you would not be able to really differentiate the clone. It's kind of like a deep fake. Like it looks very real, even though it's not from a virtual perspective. And yeah, we could have two, AI clones of us sitting here having this conversation, and because they would have, I'm close to doing what episode 600 in the next week, I think 600 episodes. Oh, thank you. 600 episodes of reference data to go off of to know how I talk and I speak, and I don't think anyone would be able to figure it out. I do want to test it at one point, but I'm scared it'll take my podcast away. And
Yeah, I'm curious if there must be something though about kind of the feeling as well. Like I likely, if you were an AI agent right now, I would probably not feel as connected to your questions. So there must be something on that level, I would think.
yeah, from a higher level, maybe there probably isn't a connection there, but in terms of convincing other people, I definitely think it can get to that level. So I don't know. I guess we'll see relatively soon because it's getting really good. Like the fact that like ChatGPT came out what early 2023.
Yeah, I mean ChatGPT 2 before then, but ChatGPT 3 was kind of the first breakthrough product.
Yeah, so it hasn't even been around that long, which is crazy. And now we're talking about agents, and now we're talking about AGI, and we'll see. So what's on the horizon the rest of the year for you guys with Zero G here in 2025, going to the fall? I know you're at Korea Blockchain Week. Any other events that you guys are planning on going to, conferences, engagements? What can people keep an eye out for?
Yeah, we will also be at Token 2049, and then Dev Connect in Argentina will be there. I think we'll have some more regional events too. I think there's going to be one in Thailand, and then I think India East Global, I think, is in December, so we'll likely be there too. Maybe a conference in London as well. Still debating. So yeah, we'll travel around the world.
Well, I relocated recently from Colombia back to Las Vegas. So if you're doing anything in the area, I know there's a bunch of conferences that come through here. Do let me know. Would love to meet up in person, and maybe we can do a part 3 in person too. It would be a lot of fun. I'm trying to do a lot more of those whenever I can.
Yeah, that would be super fun. I think there was a Bitcoin Vegas or something. So maybe next year I'll go. So that would be fun.
Yeah, apparently it went really well. I'm not surprised. So they're coming back in 2026, sometime in like May, I think. But yeah, we'll cross paths relatively soon.
Yeah, that would be nice. And then I think the other parts of the year is obviously TG preps happening, getting to mainnet. Well, I feel like TG and mainnet are kind of like day one. That's when you know things are real. You can actually measure ROI. You can measure things like, hey, this type of initiative yielded these many builders, and that's when it starts getting super fun. And it'll really be about focusing deeply on ecosystem building. How do we attract the best builders? How do we know this hackathon was successful? How can we do more initiatives like Guild on Zero G? Was this accelerator good? Can we do another one like this? So it's going to be super fun. I'm really pumped, looking forward to it.
Nice. Do you have a relative time frame for the TG at this point, or is it kind of just floating around still?
It's going to happen this month. Yeah, so very soon.
Awesome. Well, keep me updated on everything. Let me know how everything goes.
Will do.